The Whispering Pines. The woods behind the old Grayson estate had always felt wrong to Sarah, the new owner. The towering pines seemed to whisper secrets when the wind passed through, and the air carried a chill even on the warmest days. She'd inherited the house from a distant relative she'd never met, and though the property was beautiful, something about it unsettled her. One afternoon, Sarah decided to explore the forest trail that meandered behind the home. It was overgrown, but still passable, as if it had been used often long ago. Her boots crunched against fallen pine needles as she walked deeper into the woods. About a mile in, she noticed something strange. A broken saddle, half buried in the dirt, its leather cracked and faded. Nearby, a rusted horseshoe lay amidst the roots of an ancient tree. The air grew heavier as Sarah's curiosity turned to unease. "Hello?" she called out, though she wasn't sure why. The forest answered with silence, until a soft, almost imperceptible whisper brushed against her ear. "Help me." Sarah froze, her heart pounding. She spun around expecting to see someone, but she was alone. She told herself it was just the wind and pressed on, though the whisper lingered in her mind. The trail led to a small clearing where wildflowers bloomed in an array of colors. In the center stood a crude wooden cross, its wood splintered with age. Beneath it, the earth seemed freshly disturbed, as though it had been dug up recently. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. The whisper haunted her thoughts, growing louder as the hours dragged on. Finally, she gave in to her unease and researched the history of the estate. The previous owners were a couple, Margaret and Edward Grayson. Margaret had died tragically 20 years ago, thrown from her horse during a ride in the very woods Sarah had explored. Her death was ruled an accident, but rumors in the small town painted a different picture. Some whispered that Edward had been having an affair and had grown tired of his wife. The next day, Sarah returned to the clearing. This time, she brought a shovel, compelled by a force she couldn't explain. She dug where the ground seemed the freshest, her muscles burning as she unearthed something horrific. A human skeleton, bound at the wrists and ankles with rope. As Sarah stared at the remains, the temperature plummeted, and the whisper returned, clearer now. "He killed me." Sarah spun around and saw her. Margaret stood at the edge of the clearing, her pale figure translucent but unmistakably human. Her face bore a look of anguish, her eyes pleading. What do you want me to do?" Sarah stammered. Margaret raised a ghostly hand, pointing back toward the house. Sarah followed the ghost's silent direction, uncovering Edward's long-hidden journal tucked beneath a loose floorboard in the library. The final entry confirmed it all. He had sabotaged Margaret's saddle and pushed her to ride the treacherous trail, ensuring her death. The next morning, Sarah brought the journal to the authorities. Edward had died years ago, but the revelation gave Margaret's story the justice it deserved. That night, as Sarah sat in the clearing, she felt the air grow warm for the first time. Margaret appeared once more, her spectral form glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice no longer tormented. With that, Margaret dissolved into the night, leaving Sarah alone beneath the whispering pines. The woods felt peaceful now, as if the land itself had been healed.